You're probably here because you've noticed the same thing about your life and you're just asking yourself, why are you like this, right? I went years and years, like decades, 2 decades now. I'm trying to figure out, why am I like this? Yeah. Why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just hold down a job? Where I'm working now, there's a girl that started working in that company since she was 20, because she told me she's 41 the other day, and she's been there for 21 years, and now is the time that she's left. I can never imagine holding down a job for that long. I can't even imagine holding down a job for more than a year, like at this point in my life. It's just not, I just can't do it. I don't know why. It's not like I don't like working. It's not like I'm not good at what I do. I just don't understand why it is. Well, I didn't understand, but now I do. So I want to talk you through like my timeline, okay, and how it's looked like so far. So from the time I started school till when I was about, I would say 14-ish, did really well, always top of my class. Any school where we had a ranking system, they would always rank me number 1 in my class. I hardly ever had to study. I've never studied in my life, in my school days. And then when it came to around 14-ish, I kind of mixed with the wrong crowd, or wrong couple of people, not a crowd really. And I started sort of skipping classes sometimes. And I hardly ever studied for like my end of school career exams. So the exams that you do when you're 15, 16 years old. I hardly ever studied, but I managed to get 9 A to C's, which is like nine good passes. So I don't know how I did that, but so that's my school life. And I remember at the end of school, in that period when you're doing your final exams, which in the UK we call GCSEs. I don't know if you call them GEDs in America, right? I think that's what they're called. Anyway, during that time we had this careers officer, and there was a specific room where the careers officer, that was like his office, and I was labelled a gifted and talented student at school. So then they used to send me and a bunch of other kids to like these programs for like kids that they think they can excel, like they need a bit more of a challenge. So I used to be part of those clubs. I got a scholarship with Cisco, and so I was recognized as a gifted and talented student, and I was actually a really well-behaved and polite, well-mannered, the teachers trusted me, everything. But how can a person like me, who's labeled gifted and talented, not know what they want to do with their life? And I'll speak to someone else who isn't in that category, and they know exactly what they want to do. I just was really confused. So I stepped into that careers officer's office, must be like 10 times within that 2 years. And like every time I left there, I still wasn't any more clearer on what I wanted to do. So when it came to the subjects that I picked to study for the for like where I wanted to study after school, which in the UK, you either go to sixth form when you're 16 and you leave school. You either go to sixth form or college. Yeah, college, and that's a 2-year period where you do A levels, or you do a BTEC or an NVQ or something like that. It's a 2-year study program, and then after that, you whatever qualification you gain from that, then you go to university. So the subjects I picked for my A levels, I just picked anything. I just picked anything because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I also noticed that because I didn't study and I didn't do my coursework and I didn't revise and things like that, there was one day, like I was really good at making excuses. I was really good at making up lies for why I didn't do the work. But it's just that I just didn't know how to study, and I hadn't studied, and I didn't do any homework and anything, but even though I got good grades. So I remember one time telling my maths teacher, really sorry, Mr. Derrier, but I remember one time telling my maths teacher that basically that was the day that we had to hand in our maths coursework, and that was for our GCSEs, and I hadn't done it, and everybody else had brought in their work except for me, because this is your final, this counts towards your final exam grade. And I was like, what the hell can I do? What can I say? Because if I don't hand in this piece of coursework, like this is a fail for that particular piece of work, and that's going to bring my grade down. So I just made up an excuse. It's not like I didn't do it because I didn't know how to do it. No, I was in the top set in maths, so we were split up like according to ability, and I was always in the top set for maths, science, everything. So what I told him is that we had a gas leak in our home, in our neighborhood, our building. I can't remember what exactly it was, but we had a gas leak, and everyone from that area was told to evacuate, and we weren't allowed to take our belongings with us. And yeah, that bought me some sympathy and some time, because obviously I was able to buy, like, I think even might be days or even a whole week. I was able to get that extended, because I was able to say to him that, oh, we're not back home yet, they're still fixing the gas pipes, whatever. Like, the craziest excuse in the world, but I got away with it. And yeah, that's sort of like a trend in my life. Anyway, I found out a lot about why I'm like this, but I just want to be honest about it. But at least I know now, because I've sort of sought some help, and I kind of know why I behave the way I behave, and why I don't do things even though they're really urgent, and even though it's for my life, it's not for anyone else's life. But anyway, so I'll move on. So I went to sixth form. I think I studied subjects like, I think I opted in for chemistry, biology, and something else. I can't remember the other thing. And then I also did Cisco, computer networking, because I had already done it at school when I was 13 with a scholarship. Anyway, I really didn't enjoy it. The school wasn't for me. It's just a different culture. I felt like I was really left out, didn't have any friends. I've always been that kind of person anyway. I don't really have many friends, even when I was at school. Maybe if I have that one friend and I hang around with them, and then on days that friend is not there or they're sick, I'm just on my own. But most of my school life, I've just always had lunch on my own, always just been independent and all that. Apart from maybe when I was between the ages of 13 and 16, those last 3 years of my compulsory school life, that's when I had like one or two friends that I would hang around with. Anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed that school. I started skipping lessons. At the same time, I also had a boyfriend, which I had since I was 15, and he was like an escape for me. So if I felt like I didn't want to go to school, didn't want to go to classes, I would literally meet up with him and just spend the whole day with him. Yeah, so he was my escape. Anyway, so then halfway through the year, I just stopped going completely, but my mum never knew that I wasn't going. So anyway, then the grades come through the door, and it's just like all fails, like all across the board. So anyway, I don't know what to say, to be honest. I don't even know what I told them, my family. But then I decided to give it another go. So then I picked a school, like I live in London, right? I live in East London, and I don't know why I picked a school all the way the other side of London. So I decided to go to college and try my A-levels again. This place was a lot better in terms of culture. I fitted in, I like made friends. I don't know if I changed my attitude slightly or because it's a new area and I just thought it's a fresh start. Anyway, so I went there, and I remember I attempted chemistry again because I really liked chemistry, but I just didn't study. That was the problem the year before. So I said, okay, this year I'll really study. And I remember I used to sit on a table in that chemistry class, and I was sitting on in a table of geeks, basically, and because I'm a nerd as well, right? So I was sitting on a table full of nerds, and every time it was chemistry, we used to sort of compete within our table of, you know, who can get this equation, who can solve this equation quickly, or who can finish this piece of assignment or these series of questions that the lecturer had set us first. And to be honest, it was a lot of the times it was me. Again, same scenario with this one. I didn't study, and I stopped going, stopped attending classes, and I basically dropped out just maybe even before halfway through the year. Yeah, so that was just another quit. And then I think between these times when I was quitting, like sixth form in college, when I was like 16, 17, I was like, I started getting into work, and I was doing sort of events work here and there, and even those jobs I wasn't able to really like do them regularly and put in a lot of hours. I just really didn't enjoy doing them. Anyway, who does? So anyway, at the end of that year, even though I didn't really get good grades, because obviously I hadn't attended my lessons, I hadn't done the exams, I hadn't done the coursework, I still managed to get D's for some reason. And then I applied to university at a time when basically it's like there's a few places left, and in the UK we call it clearing, and there's a few places left, and they're basically taking late applications to fill in those remaining spaces. And so that was the first time I applied through clearing. And I remember like you had to do an application, whatever, and then you got a call from either the course leader or one of the lecturers, and you had to literally sell yourself and say why should they take you. And I just managed to do that because I was so good at defending myself and just basically convincing people that, you know, I'm really good and I need a second chance. Anyway, so I managed to get in to this university, which was like miles and miles away from home. So I had to move out of home, and that was another thing that I really wanted to do at this time of my life. So I wanted to move away from home just to be a bit more free, because my family, they were very like, the way they brought us up, they were very restrictive, and I just felt like I just needed some breathing space. So anyway, went to this uni, and it was engineering that I was that I enrolled for. And I was doing really, really well, actually. I just remember I understood all the work. The assignments were a breeze for me that first year. But again, I stopped attending halfway through the year, and I just quit. I stopped going. And then during that time when I stopped going, I fell pregnant with my first child. And then I had him when I was 19. So I dropped out of university, and I racked up that 1 year of debt. So that was the end of that chapter. And then I had the child, I moved back home, had my son, and then I think when he was just less than a year old, I went back to college, and I said, you know what, let me try doing accounting, because I had watched my partner at the time, my son's dad, he was studying accounting at university, and he graduated while I was pregnant with our son. And when I saw him study all the things that he was studying, I was just like, this looks quite easy, actually. This looks a breeze. So let me give it a go. Like, if he can do it, I can definitely do it, because I knew I was more able than him. Like, intellectually, I was like more there than him. Yeah, I'm not gonna feel bad for saying that, because you know when you're more able than someone academically or in terms of sport or in terms of, like, you just know. Yeah. So anyway, I went there. In my first week studying this course, my lecturer pulled me aside and said, you know what, why are you enrolled on this level? I was enrolled on the level 2. He said, no, I'm going to enroll you onto the level 3 as well, because you're too smart just to be doing this for your entire year. So I ended up doing level 2 and level 3, and it was 2 of us that were basically pulled out and put onto this track. In the whole entire college, it was 2 of us that were doing this level 2 and level 3 at the same time. I really struggled to push myself to get through that year. But I think having my son really helped drill it into my head that I can't keep quitting. I have to accomplish something. So anyway, at the end of that year, I got the qualification, the level 2 and level 3, which I was like so proud of. And I just wanted to continue. So summer ends, I enrolled to the level 4, and I end up quitting. So I did from let's say September to December, and then what I did is I enrolled for university again, because I thought, sod this level 4, because my plan was that after I do the level 4, and a lot of people in my course, after they do the level 4, they were gonna either go to uni or go and do a professional accounting qualification to become a chartered accountant. So I thought, I might, like, with what I have, with the qualifications that I have, I'm able to go to uni. So why am I going to waste my time doing level 4? But maybe that's an excuse that I made up in my head just so that I would be able to quit in a justified manner. I don't know. So anyway, I enrolled onto the university, another university again, to study accounting, and that was 2011, I think. And I was lucky because they had courses that were starting in January. So yeah, went, enrolled in this course, started the course, doing really well. But I think I made it hard for myself because that university was all the way across London again. It took me about 2 hours to get to that uni. And yeah, and I quit. And I quit like after like 3-4 months. So disappointed at myself again. But I always like didn't make it a big deal when I quit, and I just thought, yeah, I quit, okay, move on. That was my attitude. So then after I quit that, then I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go into the workforce, pick a proper job, full-time job, and kind of work my way up. So and bearing in mind, by the way, yeah, in the middle of all of this, I've started YouTube. I'm doing, trying to do affiliate marketing. I'm writing articles online. I'm started a blog, I think, at some point in here. Like, I'm just doing a lot. Yeah, I'm doing a lot. I'm starting and then I'm quitting. Then March 2012, I got a job at this bank. And then, so I was a cashier there, and really enjoyed it and stuff. It was so much fun. That job was so fun. And cashier there, and then after 6 months I got promoted, so that made me feel like, yes, I've achieved something, right? 6 months, got promoted, and then I spent like 3 months doing the training for that promotion position, and then I started working in that next position, which was like a personal banker. So yeah, then after a year, I'm trying to think, so it was from then till so that's March 2012, I started that job. Then I got promoted. Then I think in August 2014. So just over 2 years, I managed to like stick to that job and go every day. Even though there was times when I was starting to kind of fall off tracks and I was pulling sickies and all this kind of stuff. Then I got pregnant in late 2013, and then I was obviously due to have the baby in August 2014, and then I went on maternity leave, and then I ended up not coming back to the job. I just decided to switch jobs and go to another one, and it was better paid. Well, not really that better paid. It was just like 1 grand better paid, but it was just, I felt like I just wanted to move on, so I moved on. And then I stayed at this next job for another 3 years, and then last year was like, I was pregnant. The last 9 months I was pregnant. When I wanted to come back from maternity leave, I asked for flexible working, and they didn't give it to me. So then I said, fuck it, I'll just go back to uni. So because I was sick of like not having a plan, like not having a long-term plan for my life, and not seeing, because I really saw myself doing like big things, and I saw myself, because I knew that I'm smart and I'm talented. Like, everyone tells me that in my life. Why don't I believe in it? Why don't I do something about it? So I just said to myself, I can't be, going into jobs for the rest of my life that anybody can go into. Like, for somebody that's been told all my life that I'm smart, why am I not like going into a specialized profession? Why am I not getting into that 6-figure job? I was really reaching a point where I was starting to question all my decisions and my actions. So anyway, so I went back to university this time. And by the way, from the time when I started working in that bank, like at the end of the first year, I met somebody and I went into a relationship, and this relationship was really not good for me. It was the worst. This is the worst. Like, it was just worst experience of my life. It was just a really, really bad time. So when I went into, that relationship really wasn't good for my confidence and my self-esteem and all this kind of stuff, and I'm kind of working on that right now, because it left a huge mark in in me, like mentally and emotionally. So anyway, yeah, so now going to uni again for the third time. Yeah. And I think this time it was because of that person and the way they were treating me and the way they would treat me like I was nothing, even though I knew I was. Even though I knew I was like something, I think this time that's what made me subconsciously want to finish. And I finished that course with flying colours, having 3 children. I felt like I had 4 children because this person was like an extra child in my life. But like, not felt like sometimes the care I had to give this person was even more than the care I was giving my children, which is absurd. But yeah, so I finished that with flying colours. Regularly, I would do exams and tests with 100%. Like, the mark would be 100%. I handed in every coursework. I gave it 150%, 1,000%. I had never studied so hard in my life. Like, this is when, in this 3-year period, when I was doing this degree, that's when I realised what studying was. That's when I understood what studying meant. I would go a week studying 100 hours. It was mental. And I didn't know anybody else in my course that was studying like this. You know, I was the person that people came to like, when we were practicing exam papers right before an exam, I was the person that people came to for them to know the answers. Like, I was the person that people wanted on their team if we were doing team coursework. Like I was on point. I was a teacher's pet. All the lecturers knew me. I would speak to the lecturers. I would email the lecturers. Like, it was a different person. This was a different Sabrina. Like, I'd never seen before. And I think it was partly to do with what I was going through at that time. And also, I think I had enough of quitting and the fact that I had 3 children and I didn't want to, I just wanted a better life for all of us, basically. So I did that, finished. At the end of my course, I decided I'd had enough of this person that is making me feel this particular way, and that is just driving me down to the ground. And so I decided to leave that relationship. And by the way, when I was at uni, in my first year of uni, I managed to get a job that was paying me £1,000 a week, which was like $1,300, which for a university student, that's just like unheard of. So it was paying me £25 an hour, which I think maybe might be like just over $30 an hour. And yeah, it's like, I can make another video about how I got that job, but I was amazed. I was shocked at myself. I just felt like that 3 years was like a lucky 3 years of my life, in every other way except for the relationship. But yeah, and then I quit that job twice. So I quit it once because I was just so overwhelmed about what else was going on in my life, and I had this job, I had my study, I had my kids, and I had this person. And everything was just too much. And I quit, and I didn't let them know that I wasn't coming back. And so I just quit and just stopped logging in and stuff. And it allowed it. I was even working from home with that job, which was amazing. And then the manager called me. The manager emailed me or called me, I think, like a couple of weeks later, and then told me that, you know, can you come back? Or a couple of months later, I can't remember. But one time it was the person that owned the company that emailed me. And then the other time it was my manager, like my direct line manager, who emailed me. So basically the first time it was the company owner that emailed me and said, you know, I know life gets too much, but we'd love to have you back on a part-time basis, blah, blah, blah. And then I agreed to go back, and I went back. And then I only like worked for like a month or something. And then I quit again, quietly again, like not even telling them that I quit. Because I was like emotionally and mentally like really stressed in this period, because remember I was in that relationship. Anyway, so and then the second time I was called back, which I was shocked that how come I'm called back, and then I said yes, I will come back, and then I went back and it was the same thing again, and then I just dropped out. So obviously the pattern repeats itself. Then in my third year of uni, I got another job when I was about So it was March again. It was March again. So April, May, June, July. So it's like 4 months before graduation. What a time to get a job, eh? A full-time job. When you're in your final year of uni, in your final like semester, and you're trying to get your, you're trying to push through that grade. Anyway, so I managed to graduate anyway, and basically I got the top classification. I got a first class honours in accounting with finance, which like I was just at the top of my like peak of my like the sense of pride I had at that time. Like you couldn't take anything away from me. You could not take anything away from me. And knowing the kind of emotional turmoil that I had managed to achieve this in, right? It's just like no one will understand what I've went through, and the fact that I still managed to achieve this, even though I went through all of that, can't take it away from me. So then now we come to that latter years of my life, the last 3 years of my life, or 4 years of my life. Yeah, I stuck at this job that I got at university, at my final year of university for like 1 year, and then I switched. And I don't know why I switched, but I think the reason I gave myself at the time was that the job was low paid, and knowing what I had achieved in my 3 years at university, I knew that I could move up the career ladder a lot quicker than it was traditionally known. So I just said, you know what, I'm not sticking around one job for years, because that's going to slow down my way up the ladder. So then I just started like switching. So, but subconsciously, it may have been that I just couldn't do more than a year. And I just knew it was time to quit, because I just couldn't carry on anymore. Maybe subconsciously I could have been thinking that, but I don't know. But the reason I gave myself at the time was that I just want to climb the career ladder a lot quicker, and the way I knew how to is not to wait for a promotion in-house, because I'd seen people that had been somewhere for like 3, 4, 5 years and they're still doing the same job, and they've been promised a promotion and then they're not getting that promotion. So I didn't want that to be my story. Yeah. So then I moved on to the next job, and then I stayed there for a year. I had like from the previous one to this one, I had like a 10 grand pay rise. So, and then I also, I asked for a good title. Like the job was advertised as like a tax assistant, but I said, no, can you please switch the job title and turn it into assistant tax accountant? And they agreed to do that. And so that was a 10 grand pay rise. And then I said, you know what, after like 9 months or something, I decided to apply for jobs again, because again, I knew that I could achieve a lot more. But also I think subconsciously, I just knew it was time to leave, because otherwise I would just be demotivated, and I didn't want it to turn into a situation where I was quitting and starting to make excuses and pulling sickies and all this kind of stuff. So I decided to be proactive and look for another job, and I found another job, and actually that job got me from, so how much of a pay rise did I get? I think when I calculated that time, it was like 130% pay rise. So it got me another 28 grand pay rise. Yeah, from the previous job to this job, it's 28 grand pay rise. And so then that's the job I'm in right now, and to be honest, I'm thinking of quitting. But the reason why I want to tell you all of this is because I want you to understand. I want you to understand what type of life I've led in the past. So the series of events that I've described to you, I think, are a span of 20 years. Yeah, it doesn't actually look like it was 20 years, but it was 20 years. Anyway, so last year, I just thought to myself that this is ridiculous. I looked at my life pattern, and I just thought, this is actually ridiculous. Sabrina, what if there's something wrong with you? So I went in, I basically paid like 2.5 grand to see a psychiatrist, and just to speak to a psychiatrist and see what they think about my life. And basically, it turns out that I have ADHD. And when he told me like the traits of people with ADHD, or like, no, when he didn't tell me the traits of people with ADHD, but he went through everything that I had told him and explained to me why I do what I do. And it made so much sense. Basically, it's a constant search, constant craving for dopamine, and your brain just can't do like mundane, ordinary tasks. My brain just can't stick to one thing because I'm constantly searching for that dopamine rush. And it's also the reason, and also like my attention, you know, like I can hyper focus, but then I can also not focus on things. Like I can also like be extremely distracted. And so when you see me talk, like if I'm talking to you, if you're right in front of me, if I'm talking to you, you will see me like looking at different places and stuff. And it's not because I don't want to listen to you, but my brain just gets distracted with all different things. Like it's just that's just how I am. So now I know why I've been quitting. And I think if this, and it's not like, oh yeah, now I know and I've been diagnosed with ADHD, so it makes it okay. No, it doesn't make it okay. But at least now I know what the cause of that is. And when I'm doing it, I can stop and say, Sabrina, is there a logical reason for you to quit or not? Like what is, or what solution or what plan can we come up with? And I'm honestly, I've had enough of starting and stopping and quitting jobs, because on my CV and my resume, it's really not looking good. Having been somewhere for 10 months and then leaving and getting another job, having been somewhere for 1 year and then leaving, getting another job. So now that I know that this is inherently within me, is to keep quitting when something is not satisfying my dopamine rush. I've actively started looking at, okay, what careers are good for people with ADHD, and just trying to figure out like what can help me go through life without being so disruptive to my own self, okay, and my family. Yeah, there's a bunch of other things that I've done throughout my life that I haven't told you about, but I can't tell you about every single thing, obviously. But I've decided recently that I don't want to have a permanent job. I'm going to go into interim work, which is contracting. So interim work is like basically when you get a job because somebody's gone on a maternity leave in a company and they need someone to cover that maternity leave. Or maybe this company has a certain project that they want to pull off within the next 3 or 6 months, and they need someone to come and kind of steam through that project work. Or like it's basically short-term roles. And I think that kind of work would be perfect for me, because what I do, I'm a tax accountant. I really enjoy what I'm doing, but I don't think permanent work is good for me, because I've noticed when I come into work, when I start a new job, I get really excited and really like charged to make a difference, and I'll implement changes without being asked, and I would do this, and I show up 1,000% when I start a new job. But when it gets to that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, no, I kind of start having enough. And so that's just what I wanted to share with you. And I think if you're a prolific quitter as well, and your life kind of sounds like my life, I think it's good to speak to someone, to go and talk to someone, whether it's a doctor, psychiatrist, a friend or something, because I feel like if my family knew about ADHD when I was a lot younger, the last 20 years of my life maybe would have looked a lot different. And I'm not blaming it on my family. I'm just saying, like, if the people around me, including myself, knew about, neurodivergence, then I think we could have got to the bottom of these issues a lot sooner. But unfortunately, we're here, and at least now we know, and we can deal with it going forward. So I think it's just good to research this topic for yourself if that's what you're experiencing, and then you will figure out ways to deal with it. For example, now I'm seeing a therapist. I also spoke to an ADHD coach, and those kind of talking to professionals like that can really help you figure out how to cope in your life and how to go ahead of decisions and challenges, because they know, they've studied this field. They probably know you better than you know yourself, because I've only just recently found out that I'm ADHD, and they've worked with people with ADHD for a longer time. And a lot of the times these coaches and therapists, these ADHD coaches and therapists, they are people with ADHD, so they know what you're going through, and so it helps. But yeah, I just wanted to come here and just spill my guts out at you. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but just basically be frank and honest. And then also in the future, this will be a video that I can watch and look back and see where my mind was at this point in time. So I decided to go into interim work, and also basically that's another reason why I'm doing this YouTube channel, because it does give me that sense of satisfaction. And also it's irritating me that I haven't found a niche that I really want to go into in this YouTube world and stick to. I feel like there is a niche that if I find it, or if I'm successful at it, then I will stick to it. But yeah, that's just me. If you have any questions, then I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. If you have ADHD, we can talk down in the comments as well. I'll be happy to connect with other people, because at the moment I don't know anyone else that has ADHD that I speak to, like as a friend, except for my sisters, who also recently found out that they had ADHD. But yeah, so yeah, that's me. Thanks for watching. Bye.